Hi, welcome to the Forums of Economic Systems lecture. Today we're going to talk about the four different systems of economics, which basically also translates into political systems. They're not tied directly, but many do mimic their economic system. So please get out your Forums of Economic Systems organizer and we will begin. In this organizer, you want to write down definitions and characteristics of each type of system, and then also some examples, and then hopefully be able to slide a picture in there if you can. All right, let us begin. Basically, an economic system answers the three economic questions of what, how, and for whom. So the method a society uses to produce and distribute goods and services. So who do we get cheese to? Who do we get tires to? Who do we get toilet paper to? So there are four basic systems that answer these economic questions. They are traditional, command, market, and mixed. A traditional economy is based on society's values. So it answers the answer to the three economic questions are found in the past. So basically, children carry on what their fathers and grandfathers and great-grandfathers and great-great-grandfathers and so on did. So if my grandfather was a hunter, and my father was a hunter, and my uncles were hunters, then I will be a hunter. These are mostly primitive hunter-gatherer societies, sometimes secluded societies in Africa, parts of Asia, and then also South America. So think about a tribe living in the rainforest in South America. There are very few limited jobs. So basically you have a hunter, you have maybe somebody that grows crops, also people that are maybe potterers, weavers, that make clothing and hammocks and things like this. And then you have your chief and your medicine men. So basically if your great-grandfather was a medicine man and your grandfather was a medicine man, and your father was a medicine man, then most likely you will be a medicine man. So these are basically jobs in a whole economic system based on the way things have always been. So when we take a look at this, the examples listed here are children carry on the economic roles of their parents. Your father was a butcher, therefore you become a butcher. Goods and services are produced for family units or social tribes. The Amish are a great example of this. They basically produce goods and services for themselves, and then what is left over they sell out to the outside world. A command economy is based on the ideals of Karl Marx and Frederick Engels, the creators of the communist theory. So, in a command economy, the government answers all the economic questions. Government determines what to produce, how to produce, and for who they will produce these for. So, individuals and basically the market have absolutely little to no say in the system. So, when we look at this, the government will decide we are going to grow this much wheat, we're going to make this many tires, this is how much butter we're going to produce, and if they're incorrect, well, then the society suffers. There have been examples throughout history. Feudalism is probably the best one, where you had the people living on plots of land owned by the lords, and they basically paid 90 to 95% of their crops in rent and basically stayed alive, and the landlords told them what to grow. The one we really see today, the example that you can really put down, is authoritarian socialism, also known as communism. Don't get these two terms confused, they're the same thing. So authoritarian socialism and communism are the same thing. It is the closest to a command economy. The government owns and operates nearly all the factors of production, needless to say the farms, the factories, all those things. Basically where you can see this today is Cuba and North Korea. The old Soviet Union was like that. Now China politically is a communism, but economically is not, and that's one of those things I said, you may have a government that deviates from that. So when we look at this, we think of Cuba and North Korea for the most part. A market economy is where individuals, you and I, answer the three economic questions. The government has no say. The factors of production are owned by individuals like you or I. So if I own the ice cream store, I can make any flavor of ice cream I want. If I want to make jalapeno and habanero ice cream, I can. I might go out of business, but I can do it. So by me picking what I want to make, it is up to you to choose whether you want to buy my jalapeno ice cream or not. So There's a free exchange of goods and services. It provides the only form of control over what goods and services are bought and sold. So, so basically, it is the market that decides whether an item is popular or not. And you can see this all throughout the United States. We are basically rooted in a market economy. Market economy uses self-interest. Adam Smith said that people will act in their own best interest. And so they will act in their own self-interest. So basically, we do things that we want that fulfill our own wants and needs. So how do you decide what economic choices are in your best interest? Usually by incentives. So if I show up every day to work and I'm never paid, well, that's not a very good incentive. So if you show up for a job and are paid well, that's a great incentive to show up. We can also see this in students with students that are paid for grades. If you say, hey, I'll give you 20 bucks for an A and 10 bucks for a B and nothing for a C, basically that's an incentive for you to do well. So these are things that work well in a market economy. A mixed economy has elements of all three different: traditional, command, and market. Mostly market and some command aspects to answer the questions. Mixed economies are divided into three main categories: the amount of government control. So even within most of the governments in the world today, guys, a majority of them, a large percentage, are mixed economies. And they go on this sliding scale. From even countries like China, which were traditionally communisms, have begun to allow certain forms of market economy to creep in, aspects of capitalism to creep in. So you can go that all the way to a country like Hong Kong, which is pretty much completely uncontrolled and definitely wide open capitalism. So when we look at this, we basically have three different types of governments that are part of that mixed economy. Capitalism is the closest to a market economy. Individuals own and operate nearly all the factors of production and answer the three economic questions. So you actually live in a capitalism. The United States, Japan, Canada are all capitalisms. This is the one that we know the best. Government has some interjection, but not much. And what I mean by that in the United States, the government approves new drugs and foods to make sure they're safe for the people. They set safety standards and mileage standards for cars. There are certain aspects where the government is involved, but for the most part, they tend to stay back. And in some capitalisms, like Hong Kong, they really stay back. Canada, they're a little bit more involved. The government has a little bit more interaction. So like I said, it's this kind of sliding scale of involvement by the government. The second one is democratic socialism. It falls between communism and capitalism. The government owns some of the key industries like electric utilities, phone companies, but individuals have some say in economic policies. Countries like Poland, Sweden, France. This is where the government will run utility companies which may not be profitable. They will take failing companies. This happened in Sweden with some of the car manufacturers like Saab. Saab was about ready to go out of business. The government buys them, brings them back to profitability, and then sells them back to a private investor. So they will run things like utilities, phone companies, and things like that, which are less profitable. The third one, which we don't have on here and really doesn't warrant much discussion, is the monarchies. There are monarchies, basically monarchs where you have, like England, where people are elected, and they basically also follow this mixed economy. Okay, here is a slide to show you the types of economic systems. In here we have North Korea, we have the United States, and then France to symbolize that. Some questions to think about as you come into class tomorrow. What is an economic system? So think about that. What is an economic system? What is its goal? What are the four types of economic systems? Describe each. So that's what we just talked about. Traditional, market, command, and mixed. How is a market economy different from a command economy? So how is a market, as far as free range, the consumers basically decide, we make the choices, as opposed to where the government makes all the choices. And why is the United States considered a mixed economy and not just a market economy? All right, thank you very much, and I will see you tomorrow. Oh, first, Make sure you watch all the videos I've attached to here because they're going to help you understand things a lot better. Thank you, and I will see you tomorrow.